She said, "I can talk about whoever I want with my friends." I replied, "You absolutely can." Then I started dating her best friend, who'd been recording their conversations. 2 days later, she was blowing up my phone about betrayal. I, 28, am writing this because I honestly don't know who else to tell, and if I don't get this out of my system, I might actually explode. I'm a third-year surgical resident. For those who don't know, that basically means I'm a glorified zombie. I live my life in 36-hour shifts, fueled by cafeteria coffee that tastes like battery acid and the constant, terrified fear of making a mistake. I don't have time for drama. I don't have time for games. I barely have time to sleep or shower. My life is a cycle of scrubbing, operate, round, sleep for 3 hours, repeat. I've worked my entire life to get here, and I take it seriously. My girlfriend, who we'll call Jessica, 26F, seemed to think my exhaustion was a personal insult to her social life. We had been together for 3 years, living together for the last one. I paid the rent on our apartment, a nice 2-bedroom in the city that she insisted we needed for hosting, even though we never hosted anyone but her specific clique of friends. She worked part-time as a social media consultant, which, from what I could tell, mostly involved her scrolling TikTok on the couch and complaining that her genius wasn't being recognized by the algorithm. I tried to be understanding. I knew residency was hard on partners. I tried to buy her nice things when I could, try to listen to her drama about people I didn't know, try to be present. But clearly, I wasn't trying hard enough. The incident started on a rare Sunday off. I was actually home, sitting on the couch, try to catch up on some patient charts and study for an upcoming board exam. It was quiet, or as quiet as it gets when Jessica is home. She was in the kitchen, making a smoothie that probably cost $20 in ingredients. Her phone was sitting on the coffee table, right in front of me. It buzzed, then it buzzed again. Then it lit up like a slot machine with a stream of notifications from her group chat named The Squad. I glanced over. I didn't mean to snoop. I really didn't. But the text preview was set to show message, and the font was huge. The message was from Jessica. It read, "He's such a deadweight. I swear, if he doesn't get me that Cartier bracelet for my birthday, I'm upgrading. Mark is already asking when I'm going to be single. I think I'm going to make the jump soon." I froze. My brain stopped processing the medical journal I was reading. Mark. I knew a Mark. Mark was my co-resident, a guy I scrubbed in with, a guy I grabbed lunch with in the cafeteria, a guy I saw every single day. I picked up the phone. My hand wasn't even shaking. I was too stunned. Jessica walked in from the kitchen, sipping her green sludge. She saw the device in my hand, and her eyes went wide. She didn't ask what I was doing. She lunged for it. She actually dove across the coffee table, like a feral cat. "What are you doing?" she shrieked, snatching the phone out of my hand. I looked at her. I stood up slowly. "Who is Mark?" I asked. My voice sounded weirdly calm, like I was asking a patient where it hurt. "And why are you telling your friends you're going to upgrade?" She didn't look guilty. She didn't look ashamed. She looked annoyed. She rolled her eyes, unlocked her phone, and started typing furiously. "Oh my God, you are so insecure. It's just venting. I can talk about whoever I want with my friends. It's called a support system. Something you wouldn't understand because you have the emotional range of a teaspoon. You're talking about leaving me for my coworker." I said, "You're talking about me like I'm an ATM that's malfunctioning." "I'm venting," she yelled, crossing her arms and sticking her hip out. "I can say whatever I want. It's private. If you trusted me, you wouldn't be looking at my phone. You're invading my privacy because you know you're not doing enough for me. So you think it's okay to trash me to a group of people I have to see at social events? To humiliate me? To plan your exit strategy while living in the apartment I pay for?" She laughed. It was a cruel, dismissive sound that made my stomach turn. "I can talk about whoever I want. If you don't like it, maybe be a better boyfriend. So I don't have anything to complain about. Maybe if you were around more, or if you actually took me on dates instead of passing out on the couch, I wouldn't have to look elsewhere." I looked at her, really looked at her. I saw the entitlement, the lack of empathy, the sheer audacity to stand there in the living room I paid for, wearing clothes I probably bought, and tell me that her emotional cheating was my fault. You absolutely can, I said quietly. What? She snapped. You can talk about whoever you want, I repeated. You absolutely can. I grabbed my keys and my wallet. I walked to the door. Where are you going? She yelled after me. If you walk out that door, don't bother coming back until you're ready to apologize for snooping. I didn't answer. I just shut the door. I drove to a dive bar about 3 blocks away. It was 11 a.m. on a Sunday, so the place was empty except for a guy wiping down the counter. I ordered a club soda with lime. I couldn't drink. I was on call the next morning, and I needed to keep my head clear. I sat in the darkest booth in the back and just stared at the table, replaying the last 3 years of my life. The skipped trips because I was working. The extra shifts I picked up to buy her that bag she wanted. The way she always made me feel like I was lucky to be with her. About 20 minutes later, my phone buzzed. It was a text from Sarah. Sarah was Jessica's best friend. They had been inseparable since college. Sarah was the quiet one in the squad. She was a paralegal at a high-end corporate law firm, so she actually worked for a living and understood what busy meant. I had always liked Sarah. She was the only one of Jessica's friends who treated me like a human being and not a wallet with legs. Sarah, I saw your location at the bar on Find My Friends. I'm coming. Don't leave. I had forgotten we all shared locations for safety after a concert last year. I texted back, I'm not in the mood, Sarah. Sarah, you need to wait for me. I know what she said. It's worse than you think. That kept me in the seat. 10 minutes later, Sarah slid into the booth opposite me. She didn't look happy. She looked tired and resolved. She put her phone on the table face down. I saw you storm out, Sarah said. She texted the group chat immediately. She said you violated her privacy and that you were having a man tantrum, that she's planning on leaving me for Mark. I said, rubbing my temples. My co-resident. It's worse than that, Sarah said softly. She reached into her purse and pulled out a pair of wired earbuds. She's not just venting. Opie. She's scheming. And I'm tired of being an accessory to it. I've been trying to tell her to stop, but she just laughs at me. Why are you telling me this? I asked, you're her best friend. Because she hesitated, looking down at her hands. Because she's trying to frame me for it. She's been telling the group that I'm the one obsessed with Mark. She's planting seeds so that when she makes her move on him, she can tell everyone she did it to save Mark from me, because I'm crazy. She's destroying my reputation to cover her tracks. She did the same thing to a girl in college, and I stood by and did nothing. I can't do it again. She unlocked her phone and plugged in the earbuds. I live in a one-party consent state. I record our strategy sessions because she has a habit of twisting my words later to make me look like the villain to the rest of the group. I have everything. She handed me an earbud. Listen to this. It's from yesterday. I put the earbud in. The audio was crystal clear. It was Jessica's voice, unmistakable, loud and brash. Look, the lease is up in 3 months. I need my name to renew it for another year, so I have security. Once he signs, I'm going to start the thing with Mark. Mark's family has that estate in the Hamptons. My name is just a paycheck until I secure the upgrade. Plus, if he tries to kick me out before I'm ready, I can claim he was emotionally abusive. Everyone believes a crying girl. I'll get the apartment, he'll get the boot, and I'll move Markham by Christmas. My blood ran cold. It felt like the temperature in the bar dropped 20 degrees. It wasn't just venting. It was a tactical strike on my life. She was planning to allege abuse to kick me out of my own lease and ruin my career. An abuse allegation against a surgical resident? That's a death sentence for a medical license. The hospital would suspend me immediately pending an investigation, and the stigma would never wash off. She said this yesterday? I asked, taking the earbud out. Yes, Sarah whispered. And there's more. Check your joint vacation fund account. Why? Just check it. I opened my banking app. We had opened a joint savings account 6 months ago to save for a trip to Italy. I put in $500 a month. She was supposed to put in $200. It should have had about $6,000 in it by now. Balance, $412. I stared at the screen. The transaction history showed transfer after transfer to Chase credit card. She's been siphoning money from the fund to pay off her personal credit cards, Sarah explained. She calls it the stupid tax because you never check the statements. She told us she bought that designer bag last month with a bonus from work. There was no bonus. It was your Italy money. I felt a rage I didn't know I was capable of. It wasn't a hot, screaming rage. It was absolute zero. It was the kind of clarity you get in the oil when a vessel bursts and the monitor starts screaming, and you have seconds to clamp it or the patient dies. Send me that file, I said. Send me all of them. I have one more, Sarah said, looking pained. You know my grandmother's vintage ring? The one I thought I lost at that party 2 months ago. Yeah, you were devastated. She told the group yesterday that she took it. She pawned it. She used the money to buy VIP tickets to that festival she went to with her other friends. I have her confessing it on tape. She laughed about how hard I cried. I looked at Sarah. She was tearing up. This woman was her best friend, and Jessica had robbed her and mocked her grief. Do you want to get dinner? I asked. I thought you were breaking up with her. I am, I said, but let's do it in a way she understands. She wants to play games? She wants to control the narrative? Let's give her a plot twist. We didn't go back to the apartment. We went to a very nice, very public Italian restaurant downtown. We ordered appetizers. We took a photo. Not a romantic one. Really. Just two people sitting at a table, smiling, with a captionless location tag. I posted it to my Instagram story. Then I blocked Jessica's number. The fallout was delayed but explosive. I stayed at a hotel near the hospital that night. When I turned my phone on the next morning, I had 47 missed calls from private number. My emails were full of rage. Subject: You are cheating on me with my best friend? Body, you scumbag. I knew it. You two have been plotting this. I'm telling everyone what a predator you are. You are dead to me. I didn't reply. I went to work. I kept my head down. But I knew the storm was coming. Jessica wasn't the type to go quietly. She was the type to burn the village down to keep herself warm. 2 days later, the dirty tricks began. I was scrubbing in for a cholecystectomy when I was paged the program director's office. This is the boss of bosses. The man who decides if I become a surgeon or barista. He looked grim when I walked in. He didn't offer me a seat. We received a complaint, he said, sliding a paper across the desk. It was an email from Jessica. It was a masterpiece of fiction. It detailed erratic behavior, drug use, specifically accusing me of stealing opioids from the hospital, and violent outbursts. She claimed she was afraid for her safety and that I was unstable. She said she had found pills in my pockets. She's also threatening to go to the state medical board. The director said, "This is serious. Son, allegations of substance abuse and domestic instability. We have to suspend you pending an investigation. You're off the rotation." It's a lie, I said, my voice steady despite my heart hammering against my ribs. She's retaliating because I caught her stealing from me and planning to cheat. I have evidence. I want to believe you, he said, and I think he meant it. But in this climate, we have to follow protocol. Patient safety is paramount. You're suspended until this is cleared up. Hand over your badge. I walked out of hospital, my badge deactivated. I stood on the sidewalk, feeling the weight of it. I had worked my entire adult life for this. The sleepless nights, the debt, the stress. And she was burning it all down because she got caught. I called Sarah. She pulled the trigger. She reported me. I'm suspended. Meet me at my office, Sarah said immediately. Bring the lawyer. My brother is a shark of a civil litigator. He loves a fight. I picked him up on the way. We met Sarah at her firm's conference room. She didn't just report you, Sarah said, pulling up a folder on her laptop. She's trying to destroy me, too. She told our entire friend group I stole her identity and that I'm a stalker. She's trying to isolate us so no one believes the recordings. Let's play the tape, my brother said. We sat there for 3 hours and structured the defense. It wasn't just a defense. It was a nuclear counterstrike. The revenge plan. My brother laid it out. We need to hit her on 3 fronts: criminal, civil, and social. Aster's a restraining order. We filed for an immediate ex parte protective order. The evidence was a recording from 3 days prior where she told Sarah, "If he tries to leave me, I'll ruin his career. I'll tell the hospital he's on drugs. I'll make sure he never works again. I will destroy him." That is extortion. That is a threat of malicious prosecution and abusive process. In our state, using the threat of false legal action to control a partner is considered a form of domestic abuse/coercive control. Aster's a defamation suit. My brother drafted a lawsuit for defamation per se. In our state, falsely accusing a professional of incompetence or criminal conduct is actionable without even proving monetary damages. The damage is assumed. We sued for $100,000. Asterisk the theft report. I went to the police station with the bank statements showing the unauthorized transfers from the joint account. Since she was a signer, it's tricky, but the patterns show conversion of funds for personal use, which contradicts the purpose of the account. But the slam dunk was Sarah. Sarah filed a separate police report for her grandmother's. Ring, submitting the recording of Jessica confessing to stealing and pawning it. But the real kicker? The Mark connection. Sarah did some digging. Mark, the guy Jessica was trying to monkey branch to, he wasn't some innocent bystander, but he also wasn't available. He was currently engaged. His fiancée lived in another city, doing her residency there. Jessica knew this. She just didn't care. We decided to invite Mark to the party. The confrontation. Jessica, technically my ex, though we hadn't spoken since the bar, was still in my apartment. I couldn't kick her out without the order. She was squatting, posting videos about surviving abuse and narcissistic rage. I arrived with 2 police officers to serve the restraining order and the kick-out order. My brother was with me. She opened the door, looking smug. She was wearing my medical school hoodie. "You can't come in," she said, holding up her phone to record us. "I'm scared for my life. This man is dangerous." "This is Officer Miller," I said, stepping aside. "He's serving you with a protective order. You have 15 minutes to vacate the premises." "You can't do that," she screamed, dropping the phone. "I live here. I have rights." "The judge heard the tape," I said. "The one where you admitted to planning to frame me for drug abuse to keep the lease. It's extortion." The judge granted the kick-out order immediately. "You're out." She turned pale. "You recorded me? That's illegal." "Actually," Sarah stepped out from behind the officer. "I recorded you, and I was a participant in the conversation, and I've given an affidavit stating you were not in a confidential setting." The look on Jessica's face was worth every sleepless night. It was the look of a predator realizing the cage door has clicked shut. "You traitor!" she shrieked, lunging at Sarah. The officer stepped in and grabbed her arm. "That's assault," the officer said calmly. "Ma'am, step back. You are to grab your essential items and leave. Now, or you will be arrested." She ran to the bedroom, throwing clothes into a suitcase, screaming that she would sue us, that her father would buy the hospital and fire me. While she was packing, my brother walked into the bedroom and handed her the civil lawsuit packet. "You've been served," he said. "Defamation, conversion of funds, and intentional infliction of emotional distress." "I don't have money," she spat. "No," I said from the doorway, "but your parents do. And since you're on their insurance and they co-sign your car loan which you use to transport stolen goods, I'm sure they'll want to settle to avoid their daughter having a felony record." She was dragged out of the apartment, still screaming. But we weren't done. The grand finale. She thought she could spin this. She went straight to her parents' house, claiming I was an abuser who brainwashed her best friend. Her father, a wealthy guy who thinks money solves everything, called the hospital legal department, threatening to sue if I wasn't fired. So I played my final card. I sent the Mark recording to Mark. Mark listened to the audio of Jessica calling him a useful idiot and an easy target with a rich family. Mark, who valued his own ego above all else, was humiliated. He realized he was being hunted, not seduced. He didn't just reject her. He forwarded the recording to his fiancée to prove he had nothing to do with her drama. His fiancée was displeased. She happened to work in PR. The next day, the Abuse survivor narrative Jessica was trying to build on TikTok imploded. Mark's fiancé posted the receipts. The text messages Jessica had sent Mark while sitting next to me on the couch. The recordings of her plotting. Then came the police investigation regarding the ring. Police take theft of vintage jewelry seriously. When the pawn shop records matched Jessica's ID, a warrant was issued. Her parents, realizing their daughter was about to face felony theft charges and a massive defamation suit that would expose their family finances, stopped threatening me and started begging. The settlement. We met in a conference room at my brother's firm. Her father looked aged by 10 years. Jessica sat there, refusing to make eye contact, looking small. "We want to drop the lawsuit," her father said. "She's having a mental health crisis. She tried to end my career," I said, leaning forward. "She filed a false report with the medical board. That stays on my record forever unless she recants formally and admits it was malicious." "She will recant," her father said tight-lipped. "And the money she stole from the joint account, we will pay it back. Double." "And the ring?" Sarah asked. "We retrieved it from the shop," the father said, sliding a velvet box across the table to Sarah. "It's all there." My brother pushed the document forward. She signs a full admission of guilt. She admits the drug accusations were fabricated. She admits the abuse allegations were false. She admits to the theft. This document goes to the medical board, the police, and if she ever mentions my name or Sarah on social media again, it goes public. She signed. Her hand was shaking. She was crying, but it wasn't the cute, manipulative crying she usually did to get her way. It was the ugly cry of consequences. The aftermath. I was reinstated at the hospital immediately upon submitting her sworn affidavit. The program director actually apologized to me. He shook my hand and said, "We had to be sure, but you handled this with incredible professionalism. Welcome back, doctor." Jessica moved back in with her parents. Her influencer career is dead because Mark's fiancé made sure the internet knew she was a fraud. I heard she's currently working reception at her dad's HVAC company, monitoring the phones. No Cartier bracelets. No Hamptons. Just 9 to 5 answering calls about broken air conditioners. Sarah and I, well, we didn't start dating immediately. That would have been messy, but we bonded over the trauma. We spent a lot of nights ordering Thai food and sitting in the silence of my apartment, which I finally had to myself. It was nice to have someone around who didn't demand constant attention, someone who understood the value of quiet. 6 months later, we went to dinner. A real date. She wore the vintage ring her grandmother gave her. I looked at her across the table. She was loyal. She was smart. She had saved my life and my career. "You know," I said, "she was right about one thing." "What's that?" Sarah asked, smiling. "I can be boring." She laughed. "Boring is good. Boring is safe. I like safe. Safe doesn't steal my jewelry." We're moving in together next month. The lease is in both our names, but this time, the bank account is separate and the communication is open. As for my ex, I learned that privacy in a relationship is a privilege, not a right to hide a second life. And if someone demands a right to disrespect you to your face, believe them, and then show them the door. If you enjoyed the story of surgical precision revenge against a narcissistic saboteur, hit that subscribe button. It's the only commitment I'm asking for, and unlike my ex, I promise not to frame you for a felony.